this idea that you're the best.
This is where the power lies.
He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family.
You know who I am. But you don't know why I'm here.
I'm the best. I'm the best in the world.
From the top to the bottom. And because they can't handle the Macho Man Randy Savage, the cream of the crop, nobody does it better.
This ain't WCW. This ain't Monday Night Raw. This ain't SmackDown. This ain't even WWE.
It's time to step into the squared circle and get it done.
Welcome back, everyone, to Legends and Champions with me, Andy E. That was the weirdest intro I think I've done. Andy E. I never say that. I never say Andy E. It's been a few weeks, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. Some cracking shows have been released on the network. And we've had to make an audible adjustment again, because it's now September. And that audible adjustment was because of the passing of the icon Hulk Hogan, and the very quick turnaround show that we did 72 hours after Hogan's passing. Everything shifted a week back, which means that we're now in September, and if we carried on doing the original plans, it would take us up to the 10th of September, which is my birthday, and I don't really fancy talking about this pay-per-view on my birthday. So Stefan made the audible decision to cancel SummerSlam 2002 and focus just on SummerSlam 2005, so that's why we're here. And next week, we will tell you what the show is going to be about, and it's going to be a cracker. Stefan, how are you doing on this August day?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's miserable weather out there, but I'm okay because it's not hot. Because it's been really hot the past sort of few months here. So I'll take any cooler day possible. So I'll call that a win for me today.
Okay, we're going to redo that, and I'm going to put the sound effect in now.
He'll make it sweet. He'll make it short. It's time for Andy's Weather Report. Yeah.
Stefan, how is the weather where you are?
It's complete and utter dull.
Lovely. Okay, right. Don't really know where to go with that. You know, it's one of those things. If you want to get in contact with us at Celebrate Wrestling, you can do by doing this, Stefan. How?
You can go to Facebook. You type in Celebrate Wrestling. You can click join. And our Ella Canadian Arno Legrando. Yeah, that whole thing's getting out of hand. Yes, Mike McGuire will obviously let you in once you've answered a couple of questions, because, as we've said before many times, that Meta and Mr. Zuckerberg require you to do so. And yes, Mike McGuire will let you in, and you can chat with hosts from all of our shows, as well as like-minded wrestling fans, without any drama, because it is a no-jerk zone. That's right. So head on over, get involved, and yeah, and enjoy your time with us.
Well, I've got serious now. The glasses have come out. No one can see this because we're on audio, but the glasses have come out. Yes, you can join us on Celebrate Wrestling. If you want to listen to us on Celebrate Wrestling, you can do by subscribing to us on all major podcast providers, including Spotify, Apple, Podbean, and American ones like iHeart and Pandora. But Spotify and Apple are fine. Just, click subscribe, click follow, like it, because that helps us go up in the ratings. And then also leave us a comment, because we had a comment, and it's really nice having comments on Spotify.
Exactly. And don't forget as well, you can download the episodes on Spotify and some of these other ones, and that, so you can listen to us at your convenience. You don't have to, stream us live or, using your network data. Just download and then listen to us whenever you feel like it.
It's purely on the go. It's completely flexible and everything else. Right, let's get
Although I have to say, and coming from someone who this happens quite frequently, sometimes I go around the supermarket with my earpods in and I listen to some of our shows on Celebrate Celebrate Wrestling, and I do get some funny looks when I'm listening to Mitch and Dimitri at the alternate commentary table, because those guys are hilarious, and I just look like some guy that's just randomly walking around the supermarket laughing away to himself, and I get a few funny looks. So, maybe don't listen to Mitch and Dimitri when you're walking around a supermarket, unless you really don't care that people are maybe looking at you thinking, what's wrong with that person?
Do you know what? I do that when I'm driving to the office. So if I'm going up to Reading, which from where I am is about a 2.5-hour drive, I will normally use that time to either listen to Spotify, or I'll catch up on podcasts. So, it could be that I listen to 83 Weeks or My World with Jeff Jarrett or Inside with Chris Van Vliet. But occasionally, when I haven't caught up with MOW, I listen to ACT, MOW, and Us.
Yeah.
Right? Now, people turn around to me and they go, that's a bit, elitist, isn't it? You listen to yourself. No, not elitist. What's the word? Arrogant. You listen to yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I do listen to myself. And they said, why? I went, because sometimes I need a good sleep. So if I listen to myself, it puts me to sleep. And they went, but when you're driving, I was like, oh yeah, that's not a very good reason.
To be fair, sometimes like when I go to bed and that, I'll lay down and I'll listen to our show back. But I listen to our show back because sometimes I like to, because what some people might not understand is, yes, we know what was said because we said it. We were the only two that were present at the time that our shows are recorded. But sometimes it's good to like just chill and listen back to the conversation we have. And, sometimes you might just think, oh, I like that. And, sometimes you might be thinking, oh, maybe wind down on that. I don't know. But I just listen so I can just sort of self-critique, if anything.
You know what? I do that. I listen to my self-critique. Yeah. But, I had to laugh there when you turned around and said, we know what was said. It takes about, on average, about 2, maybe 3 hours to fully complete one of these shows, right? And that's not taking in the pre-work. So that's not taking in the script or, working at doing the research or coming up with the facts and figures. So the process is, once this is done, right, I get the audio. I then have to shove that into the editor. I then have to go and find any audio clips that we want to put into it, right? I then have to cut them. Then I have to edit it. Then I have to find the specific bits in the show where I think we said it, because stupidly I don't do timestamps and I really should go at like this sort of time, it's here. Maybe I'll start doing that. Then I have to add them in. Then I have to mix it down. Then I have to increase the levels. Then I have to export it, which can take a while. Then I have to stick it into another program to level it, to make it all nice and even.
Yeah.
Then I have to shove it back into the editing process to save it into an MP3 file, which takes a while. Then I have to upload it to email. Then I have to write the copy. Then I have to do the graphics for it. Then I have to send it to Mike. Yeah. And then I can sit back. And when we do, everybody thinks it's really easy, right?
And then Mike comes back and goes, no, Andy, that was terrible.
Yes. That's only ever happened once. And then when you think, at one point we did 3 shows on the bounce. No, we did we do 3? We did 2 or 3 shows on the bounce, right? And one of those shows legitimately went for nearly 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I had to edit the damn things and get them all over to Mike. So he's got them and they're all set up, and it makes Mike's job really easy, right? So he gets them all in advance. It doesn't have to worry about it. And then Hogan died. And then I had to do a Hogan tribute show and find all the audio for that. I mean, and then we had to move everything back a week. And then it's like, no!
I got some feedback on the Hogan one as well, because obviously those who listen to it know that towards the end I got extremely emotional and that. And
just before you say that, let's just break the curtain down. So we haven't actually got together and taped a show since Hogan. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So all the shows that you've listened to on Celebrate Wrestling, which is 89, 93, 95, and All In, were all pre-recorded before Hogan's passing. So we effectively had got August done. Yeah. And that's mainly because I'm on holiday next week for a couple of weeks. So then obviously, Hogan passed and we had to very quickly do that, which is why we moved everything back a week. Go.
Yeah, I was just saying, and I was actually expecting a little bit of, sort of, you got really emotional and, and maybe a few chuckles there. But I was actually quite surprised at how many people got back to me and said, you know what, I get it. And I was like, yeah, because, it's not fun sort of, being in your 40s and break it down on a podcast because you're getting emotional. But it's nice that people understood it and they got it. And as I said, it was about that moment was about explaining what Hulkamania and Hulk Hogan meant to me, to my childhood, and it was such a big thing. But yeah, quick update for you. As I mentioned on one of our previous shows, because as Andy just said, we've pre-recorded all our shows, so it depends on when it fit in.
Are you talking about what I think you're talking about?
I mentioned, my weight loss show on Mount
That was the Hogan show.
That was the Hogan show, yeah. So, so the Hogan show, I did my first jab. I've just this week, because of whatever all this is, I've done my second week. Guess how much weight I lost in just 1 week on Mount Jaro? I lost.
Oh, hang on, are we going to say I could guess it?
Well, you because you've seen it.
I was going to look clever.
I lost £8 in a week.
Yeah, that's really good.
I know, I'm absolutely buzzing on that. So, if anyone else out there struggling with type 2 diabetes or with their weight or anything and you're scared, ignore all this noise in the media. I got your back. Honestly, I can say that, the people I've spoken to that have been on it for a lot longer than I have all said it's one of the best decisions I ever make. And that, go talk to your doctor, get yourself healthy, use it as a tool, get yourself healthy and that, because, that's what the thing is all about.
The downside is, if we were doing this show live, like we used to do TSC, we could actually do a segment, which would be your journey, but we can't do that because, as I said, we're taping months in advance. So it's not that. But congratulations, well done. I've actually planned every show for the next month, as in done the research. So we have some crackers coming up, including one that Stefan doesn't know about.
Oh, I like when he throws these ones at me.
I'm going to throw the curveballs at you. So let's do, before we get on to SummerSlam 2005, let me tell you just some of the shows that are going to be coming up. We're going to be going deep into the career and the legacy of the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. We're going to be going deep into the career and the legacy of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. We're also going to be going deep into the career and the legacy and the controversies of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Now,
I can't wait for that one.
There's a couple of curveballs coming in here as well, because there was a wrestling promotion launched in 2001 called World Wrestling All-Stars. We're going to be talking about the rise, the fall, and the non-popularity of that promotion. And then we're going to do one that, again, this is the one that he doesn't know about, but it's one that I think is quite fitting for both of us because of the fact that we've both been involved in the business. And this is the rise and fall and subsequent mediocre rise again of UK wrestling. So we're going to be going in depth talking about Brit Rest. We're going to be talking about the and some of the research on this. I've gone really deep, so we talk about the formations of UK wrestling and the Greco-Roman style right the way through to the FWA. We're going to talk about the Knights. We're going to talk about Progress. We're going to talk about Red Pro. And this is going to be called The Rise and Fall of UK. And I'm really looking forward to this one, primarily because we're UK, right? So the guys in America and in Canada and Europe and all over the world that are listening to the show may not know anything about our scene. And we've got some of the best talent in the world has come out of the United Kingdom. So we're going to be doing that one. We're also going to be doing one that's it's been done quite a bit on other shows, but I want to take a different tact on it. Okay. And that's the death of WCW. And I don't quite know what that's going to be yet, but I've got some sort of an idea of, I don't want to do a standard death of WCW. I think, and I'm going to approach two people to see if they want to be involved in this. I think we do an alternate scenario. So we talk about the death of WCW and then we talk about what if. So what if it hadn't died? What would have happened? That's all coming. We're planning that out. But that's in the future. Let's talk about right now, people. This is SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And the last one we're going to cover for this year. Thank God. Because I've had enough of them. SummerSlam took place on August the 21st, 2005. And it was one of the most talked about events of what they termed the ruthless aggression era. And at this point, I think I really do need to get the sound clip of John Cena going, ruthless aggression. SummerSlam 2005 wasn't just another pay-per-view. It was one of those moments that blended the intense in-ring action, controversial storylines, the definitive passing of the torch to a new generation of superstars, and the ability for one man to oversell anything.
Oh dear. Yeah, I know where you go with that because it was. I
think everybody knows where we're going with that.
Yeah, that was comical.
But to fully understand SummerSlam, we need to set the stage. So this is the ruthless aggression era, a period of time that ran longer than, to be honest, than I expected it to. I didn't, because all these eras, I don't know about you, they, to me, blend to each other, right? So you've got the Attitude Era, you've got the New Generation era, you've got the Hogan era, you've got the real, the ruthless aggression era, you've got the PG era, you've got this new Triple H era.
They're now calling it, that's it, yeah.
You know what I mean? And they all seem to kind of just blend together sometimes. I mean, we also had the crap era for the majority of the noughties, really.
I say I say sort of around 2010, 2011 till about sort of like for like the next sort of 7 to 8 years.
2023.
2023. Yeah.
When a certain 70-year-old got fired.
yeah, you could say that. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, about just over a decade. Yeah, so it's about 12 to 13 years of it being probably at its worst. I mean, maybe could rival the sort of like the 93s to 97 period in some ways.
Nothing could ever rival the 93 to 97 era.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, Mantar. Yes. Nothing could. I'm doing a show. We're doing a show on Mantar. I don't care. It might only be for 5 minutes, but we're doing.
We're doing a show on worst, most controversial gimmicks in WWE because there have been some.
And this will be in 2026, people, because I'm not pulling any more shows from this menu.
We'll end up talking about people like Kazani, for example. Kazani, Mantar, a certain garbage man, the Goon, Mordecai, another one. What was the name? I can't believe I forget his name. What was that magician type one that had the white painted face that that they tried to pull off? I can't remember his name now. Yeah, it'll come to me after the show. I'll be like, oh, that's the guy, because I've never forgot his name until now. But
it'll come. It'll come. This ruthless aggression era, though, was a way for the WWE to evolve from the Attitude Era, if you remember right. So it wanted to keep the brutal side of realism, which was the Attitude Era, blurring the lines of kayfabe, and be celebrated for good wrestling. And my phone's going off. Be celebrated for good wrestling. It was also about elevating new talent. And I think, to be honest, they did do that because it was this era that you saw the GOAT, John Cena. You saw the Animal, Batista. You saw the Viper, Randy Orton. You saw the Rated R superstar, Edge, become the faces of the company. You saw The Undertaker reach new career heights, some of those legends like Mick Foley. But you also saw names such as Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero reach that world championship recognition, right?
Rey Mysterio came in and went, and his career just went up and up and up.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Rey Mysterio in this pay-per-view later on. So I don't know why I'm suddenly doing this, and you can't see this, but I'm doing the Penta. I've been playing a lot of 2K25. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of 2K25, right? And I've been playing my faction and working through the weekly towers. And so I've got something like 100,000 MFC. And Penta is bloody brilliant. Yeah. Penta and Abyss. The best combination you can get. Anyway. Doing the MFP, I'm on a weird show today. I pulled 3 random packs of the SummerSlam cards. Yes. Every pack, I got the diamond card, which is like the top tier card. Seth Rollins, Charlotte, Bronson Reed, Bayley. I just need Finn Balor now. Anyway.
Okay.
You don't really care about that, do you? No.
I was just thinking. I know a Facebook group dedicated to people that play WWE 2K that will probably hate the living hell out of you right now for just saying that, because I know people out there that have been grinding and grinding and grinding and have got nothing.
Do you know what?
Worthy.
That is the best haul I've ever had on my faction.
Yeah,
and it was literally on the bounce.
Well done.
The best thing was it didn't cost me a penny, because that's what I hate about my faction is when you've got to buy VC to get the cards. Didn't cost me a penny. Anyway, we're going off subject. The brand split also was in play, and the difference here was the brand split was in play. It wasn't separated, which I really liked. And that's the lead into SummerSlam. It drew 18,176 fans, and it was known really for one match. Well, actually, it was known for two matches. Well, maybe it was known for a bit more than that, but it was definitely known for one match. Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels, which was the dream match, the match that we all wanted to see. It was a little bit controversial, though.
It was, and it's funny you said that, it was known for one match or maybe two matches, because I feel that the other match, which we will talk about, is, like, to this day, probably mentioned more than any other match on this card, including Hogan and Shawn Michaels. But yeah, it was controversial. I mean, Hogan, obviously, he's into his third year of his return in the WWE, which is very strange in some ways, because it doesn't feel like he was there that long in his return.
He wasn't.
Yeah, because, he sort of dived out, didn't he? And he come back, and he sent his good friend Mr. America in to take his place a couple of times. Some people still controversially think that was Hulk Hogan. You think, what's going on with Chad Gable and a certain masked lucha in WWE now, I don't think it's related. So.
In fairness, though, it couldn't possibly have been Hulk Hogan as Mr. America, because he passed the polygraph test.
Absolutely.
And if only people had listened to what the polygraph said about Vince McMahon.
Let's not go there. They're coming in 2027, and Legends of Champions bring you the rise and fall of Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
If we're not here next week, it's because we got taken off the air for that comment. Mind you saying that ACT survived Epstein comment. Andy,
it's on the record. Andy made that comment.
And this is where I suddenly take my name off the show and replace it with Legends and Champions with Andy and Stefan. That means it's your show as well, right? And so I can't get blamed for it.
Andy's broken. He's malfunctioning.
Where do we go now?
There we go.
Let's talk about this SummerSlam match. Yes. We will talk about some of the other ones, because there were a couple of crackers on here. All were there, because it's got a mixed bag pay-per-view. The build-up to this Michaels versus Hogan match was something that we always wanted to see, didn't we? We always wanted to see Michaels in his peak against Hogan, like a passing of the torch match. You didn't. I did. I always wanted to see Michaels when he was not the 94 era Michaels.
Yeah.
But the 96, 97 Michaels, where he was, world champion, where he'd climbed the mountain, the boyhood dream. To see him at his peak, ultimately, against Hogan at his peak, would have been, and I'm not talking about Hogan 93, 94 being peak, I'm talking about mid-80s Hogan, would have been a great match, because two very different styles. The high-flying striker style of Shawn Michaels and the powerhouse of Hulk Hogan.
I suppose I suppose in a way, we had that similarity of styles, mixture of styles, when we had Randy Savage and Hogan.
Yeah.
I would have much rather have loved to have seen Randy Savage in his prime versus Shawn Michaels in his prime.
Oh yeah.
Than Hogan, and then that's obviously no disrespect to Hogan, but for me, that's a matchup that I think kind of tickles the taste buds of me wrestling fandom a little bit more than Hogan Michaels. But it was very bizarre that they went with this. Obviously, before, if social media and the internet were like it is today. Back then, we probably would have known this match was being teased months in advance before it was ever announced as happening. Because, you know, we had that quite recently with the whole Gunther Goldberg scenario. It's been the best part of a year or so. Everyone was talking, you know, Goldberg's probably going to have a retirement match against Gunther. And lo and behold, that's what we got. But yeah, it was bizarre, and I was intrigued when this match came about. I mean, obviously, we had I know some called it, I think at the time, super kick or the Sweet Chin Music heard around the world, where Michael seemingly turned heel, but it wasn't really a heel turn. It was more of, I need to prove myself against arguably the greatest star in WWE history of all time. I'm Mr. WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I want to be in that bracket. I deserve to be in that bracket, in that conversation. So instead of just, you know, doing what Shawn Michaels doesn't do, which is, hey, would you mind if we tangle at SummerSlam and have a match? You know, would you do me the honor, or do it the way The Rock did, you know, a couple of years prior, or a few years prior? No, Shawn Michaels does it by the way Shawn Michaels does it, which is switch your music and then ask the questions later. Where it's nothing new with Shawn. That's how he does he's always done his business, is deliver a switch of music and then talk about it later on. But I
didn't have a problem with that, though.
I didn't, because it was Shawn Michaels. And I remember when, you know, people did say, like people that I knew back then would say, oh, hey, Shawn's turned heel and all that lot. And I thought, I don't know if he has. Like, we'll have to see how this plays out. And obviously, it wasn't the heel turn, but it was.
Yeah, I think if you look at it in a very black and white, passe, Michaels was the heel and Hogan was the babyface. But I don't think it was. A lot of people say it was an intentional heel turn. I think it was the promos that made Michael heel, because he did that absolutely legendary Larry King promo.
Hulk, it's great of you to join me tonight. Hulk, you'll be squaring off against Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam. Now, that's Shawn Michaels. He's a tough guy, isn't he?
Let me tell you something, brother. This is a dream match, brother. One that I've always dreamed of, brother. But I got news for you. I'll be 102 years old, brother, by the time I step into the ring at SummerSlam. Every day the Hulkster wakes up that he's not dead, brother. He's living on bonus time.
Let me ask you a question, Hulkie. Are you a bad guy or a good guy?
Well, on camera, brother, I'm a great guy. But when that camera goes off, brother, it's a different story, brother. Oh, brother. You see, brother, Shawn Michaels is obviously an amazing athlete, brother. But he never quite made it to the upper tier, brother. You see, after I walked out of the WWE, brother, and decided to go make even more money somewhere else, brother, they gave the ball to Shawn Michaels. But he couldn't quite get the job done. You see, he's got more important things on his mind, like becoming the greatest wrestler that has ever stepped into the ring, brother. He's more concerned about going out there each and every night, brother, and stealing the show. Brother, he works just as hard in Battle Creek, Michigan, brother, as he does in Madison Square Garden, brother. See, the Hulkster, brother, he's got a philosophy, brother. Once those people are in the building, brother, you've already got their cash in your front pocket, brother. But Shawn Michaels, brother, he'd rather go out there and nearly kill himself every night, brother, just to make sure those people get their money's worth, brother. But you see something? It's not gonna matter. It's not gonna matter, brother. Cause you know Mean Gene, brother, when the Hulkster could...
Larry King.
Whatever, Larry. I'm selling tickets here, brother. What you gonna do, brother, when the Hulkster comes at you, Shawn Michaels, at SummerSlam, brother? We're gonna hook up, brother, you and me, for the first time in history, brother. The first time, brother. The last time, brother. The only time, brother. And when that bell rings, brother, oh, brother. Get Grip! Oh, brother! Ah, God! Oh, brother! Hulk Hogan, you've got your reality show. Hogan knows best. At SummerSlam, what are you gonna do when reality kicks you right in the face?
And then, that at this point, that just set those fan expectations through the roof.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was like, this is going to be amazing. This is Michaels at his best. This is old school, cocky, arrogant DX Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Against the holier than thou Hulk Hogan. However, for me, I would have liked to have seen it the other way.
Yeah.
I would like to have seen a heel Hulk Hogan facing off against the face Shawn Michaels, going off against this whole new blood, like playing off the WCW new blood angle.
Yeah, because obviously when Hollywood Hogan comes in with the NWO, Shawn is sort of retired at that point. It's before his SummerSlam 2002 return. And now I kind of wish that we hadn't scrapped it in some ways, because there are notable things to. Maybe we'll revisit it next year when SummerSlam season comes up. Maybe we'll cover it then, because there is a lot to talk about with SummerSlam 2002. But yeah, and I agree with you. I actually think maybe that would have potentially have had more appeal, maybe. And this is the thing as well, is you look back, and I mean, a lot of younger fans may not realise is the fact that when Hogan was at his peak in the WWE, Shawn Michaels was around. He was just in the rockers, and he was just breaking out towards the end of Hogan's initial WWE run. He was becoming, he was building up Intercontinental Champion, and then, obviously 3 years after Hogan leaves.
I'm just thinking of the timeline. So if you think that Hogan came back in February of '93 with Beefcake, with the Barber, as the Megamaniacs to face off against Money Inc. at WrestleMania 9. So that's going to be, and that was a late return because the ticket sales weren't going very well. That was February. Michaels at this point had already won the IC title on Saturday Night's Main Event, beating the Bulldog, but already had done a champion versus champion match against the Hitman Bret Hart at the '92 Survivor Series. So he was already.
They were prepping him
to that main event.
They were prepping him, because obviously you think WrestleMania 9. Obviously we had Beefcake and Hogan against Money Incorporated for the tag titles on that same show. I think it might have been the opener of the show. I can't remember.
Michaels versus Tatanka.
Michaels versus Tatanka for the Intercontinental Championship, and and that's the thing as well, that you knew. They were trying to do something with Shawn. You could tell they were prepping him for that push, and that was the thing. I think it was one of those scenarios where Vince said, "All right, we're going to put a lot on you, and it's on you to show where you can take it." And obviously, we know how great Shawn was doing so.
I don't want to steal thunder from what we're going to when we do the Michaels show, but obviously we saw a year later at '94 at WrestleMania 10. We saw it '95 with the ladder match, and obviously we saw '96 at WrestleMania 12. So you could see where that was going to go. The reason for the Hogan heel comment was actually, and I think we've all done this over the past few weeks since the passing of Hogan, has gone back and watched some of those classic moments of Hulk on WWE Vault and on Netflix and that type of thing. Hogan always did kind of fly very close to the wind in terms of those heel tactics. And it's something that I never really picked up on until I started watching.
Oh, yeah.
Because, the rake to the eyes, the boot to the head, something like that. So to have brought that in to this match I think would have given it another dimension. You didn't have to turn him into NWO Hollywood.
No.
It could have been the red and yellow, but with an edgier, coming out.
I mean, he did it. If you think, I mean, you could look back, and I say prime example as well is you look back to Raw Rumble '92 when Flair won it and won the title. Subsequently, when Sid Justice eliminated Hogan, and he actually basically comes across Hogan as a sore loser, as a bad sport, and actually helps have Sid eliminated, which obviously it goes on and helps set up their match at WrestleMania 8. So Hogan did, as you said, he did teeter on the edge and he did bend the rules slightly and that. I think maybe an edgier Hogan against an edgy Shawn Michaels. I mean, that could have been, giving it a little bit of space.
A little bit of the spicy, or it could have been a little bit of the bubbly. Unfortunately, I haven't heard that for a long time. Unfortunately, though, it was backstage where the heel Hogan really kind of came out, because I don't know if you knew this, but originally this was meant to be a 3-match series where Michaels would eventually overcome Hogan getting the rub. But Hogan used that wonderful card called Creative Control and insisted on winning the only encounter, citing back issues.
Well, what did he say? What did he say, Andy? What did he say? What was the line he probably used backstage when he was told this was what was going to happen? What was initially going to happen? Come on, Andy, we know this. Doesn't work for me, brother.
Oh God, I thought you were going to make me bring Self out.
Yeah.
He walked up to Vince and he went, "Self, do I want to lose to Michaels?" And
No.
Self went, No,
sorry, Andy. It's brother Self.
Oh God,
Self,
no.
brother.
Right, stop. No. I got a cease and desist from Conrad Thompson. Stop. Love you really, Conrad. Because of that heel turn backstage by Hogan and the Creative Control, that's why Michaels just went, screw this. I'm going to go out there and do what I want to do. And that's when he over-exaggerated almost everything that Hogan gave him. And you could see the frustration in the eyes of Hogan. I mean, when you watch this, and bear in mind, this is 1995, the last time I think I'd seen Hogan that peed off in a match was Bash at the Beach 2000 with the screw job with Russo and everything else, because he gave the same look, right? And I remember watching this, and there was part of me going, this is all part of the story, right? This is all part of the match. It's everything else. But it's only afterwards when you start, and I was doing the original TSC at this point, and that Lee and I actually sat down and we broke this pay-per-view down and we talked about it, and we just went, yeah, that wasn't part of the story, was it? That was Michaels taking the proverbial on Hogan. And then obviously all the news came out, and Uncle Dave gave a load of information backstage, and so did Brian Alvarez and Wade Keller. And the problem with that is it took this dream match and it turned it into a farce, because Hogan won with a leg drop, and in reality, he should never have gone over HBK.
No, I agree. And I don't understand why, because, he lost to Angle. Hogan, the only one of the few times I remember Hogan in WWE ever really tapping out was to Kurt Angle. That was Backlash, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He tapped out through that as well. He lost to Undertaker. He lost to Hollywood Rock. I don't know why Hogan was against losing it to Michaels. Was it that he didn't, for whatever reason, see Shawn as quite in his level, or
I think that's very
I don't know.
Sided by Hogan. If that was the case, then you have to say shame on Hogan on that one, because Shawn, all right, Hogan was known as kind of Mr. WrestleMania before Shawn Michaels became Mr. WrestleMania. I mean, that's the shame. I wish this match hadn't happened at SummerSlam and it had happened at WrestleMania.
Oh, I think it would have probably stood more. I actually wonder if HBK would have had the same approach had it been WrestleMania, because, WrestleMania to Shawn was a big, big deal. And he always looked his best when it came to WrestleMania. And I do wonder if he had if he would have approached it slightly differently. I mean, as much of a Hulkamaniac as I am, I can't really blame Shawn for being aggrieved and feeling, well, if you're not going to, play ball, then I'm not going to play ball. I'm going to go and do whatever I want. Then you look at kind of, a lot of people may go, yeah, but it's not the first time Shawn Michaels not played ball and not gone a bit controversial off script in a huge main event, i.e. Survivor Series 97 with Bret.
Yeah, but that wasn't that. Yeah. But
it was different wrong. Context. That's wrong. It is different.
That's wrong because that wasn't Shawn going off script. That was Shawn doing what he was told by the boss.
Yeah, but we've all seen. Well, most of us have seen the footage though, where where Shawn's asked by I think might have been Bret's wife at the time. I can't remember because it's been ages since I've seen the footage. Where she said, they questioned Shawn about it, and he actually says, I knew nothing. I swear, his exact words were, "I swear to God." But
he's a company guy, loyal to McMahon. That's a different.
But I don't. But what I don't understand is obviously. Forget the whole. Well, don't forget it. But in this moment here, forget Hogan before he leaves in '93. Forget all that Hogan did. Because that's untouchable. We know all that.
Yeah.
But I know Hogan's still very, very popular. But I'm thinking Vince's mindset as well to turn around and be like, look, I don't overly mind, annoying Hogan here by saying, no, Shawn's going over you on this. This is what I don't get this is why I wish I could be a fly in the wall in these meetings, these conversations about this is I can't understand why he put Kurt Angle over, why he, all right, Undertaker's different, but he still had Taker go over him.
How is Taker different? How is Taker different?
Exactly. That's what I mean. It doesn't make sense to me because we know the whole, all right, Taker's made fun of it over the whole, you've got me, brother, when he talks about Hogan claiming that he injured his neck with a tombstone. And then obviously years later in 2002, after Hogan wins the undisputed WWE title from Triple H, he drops it to Undertaker. I think it was a Judgment Day. So he puts Undertaker over. He goes on, he puts Kurt Angle over. He puts a few people over in that time. Why not Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, but he's never actually beaten Undertaker, right? Because at Tuesday in Texas, he lost. At Survivor Series 91, he lost.
Yeah.
But I could understand if this was someone like Maven, or do you know what I mean?
Maven wishes he had that honor.
But it's the Austin Brock Lesnar thing, isn't it? It's Austin saying, I'm not going to put Lesnar over, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Yeah.
Right? Lesnar's the young up and comer. Michaels isn't at this point a threat. It makes no impact to Michaels whether or not he has the match with Hogan or he doesn't, because Michaels was already a Hall of Famer. He was already a certifiable legend, and he was going to go on.
Apart from Austin, Shawn Michaels is the only other name at that time you throw in to have a dream match with Hogan. Rock did it first. Austin would have been another name that a lot of people probably would have wanted, and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah,
Shawn is is on that level as Rock and Austin. I mean, he obviously was more established before Rock and Austin were anyway. So I don't get what the problem was with having the HBK go over in this match.
And we're never going to know. I would love to sit down with, and I've always wanted to sit down with Shawn to have a conversation with Shawn. I would love to sit down with Shawn and go and ask him that question, right? Because I think it'd be interesting. I don't know what his response would be now.
I should have asked him when back when I met him. He did an event in London, and I ended up asking him about the very first Hell in a Cell match of Bad Blood, and I don't regret asking that question because the way he told it was just brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And we'll touch on that when we do the HBK show. Yeah. But I kind of wish if I would have been able to have asked two questions, this would have been the other question: is what really, really happened behind the scenes with Hogan not putting you up, wanting to put you over.
Well, let's see if we get Shawn. I will see if I can make that happen. I very much doubt it. I've tried for 20 years, but I will try. Let's have a look at some of the undercard matches before we hit some of the other big ones, because there's a couple of nice matches here. The card featured the Viper Randy Orton defeating The Undertaker in a win that helped his career enormously. And that's a direct quote from the Viper, Randy Orton. Just to get that, I mean, Orton wasn't new to the business at this point. Bear in mind, he'd already been world heavyweight champion, the youngest world heavyweight champion in history. But to still get a rub, we talk about rubs, to get a rub from the dead man, who is at this point sort of beginning that road to end the career. I mean, he went for another few years, but nowhere near his full-time schedule is what he did at this point. And Orton was still on that trajectory to go.
Yeah, I think I'm really actually looking forward to the day we actually do a Randy Orton show somewhere in the future, because, you know, we know a lot of Orton's backstory about how he had a lot of arrogance and he kind of liked to do things his way. But I have to say that he's definitely the epitome of someone who has paid their dues. They have given a lot to the business. And obviously as well, on top of that, is that when you look at Orton's career, all the things he's done, you know, having the moniker of being the legend killer, to where Orton is now. Orton, you have to say, is one of those veterans which is probably a dream to have in your promotion, because we know Orton very much is about having fun in his career now. He's just having fun in his career. He's got no problem making young and upcomers look good. He's got no problem with putting a lot of them over. I mean, look at WrestleMania this year. Joe Hendry, you know, he made, all right, it was a short match, but he made Joe Hendry look good on the basis of, you know, he was kind of he was going along with it. He was just like, okay, yeah, I like this. But yeah, Orton at that point was still, although he'd been the youngest world champion of all time at that point, he was still in that transitioning period where he wasn't quite at the very top yet. He was sort of like teetering in between at that point before he became a permanent fixture in the main event. And
consider what he did after this. I mean, he went legacy. He went, you know, he was all over the place in terms of stables and tag teams, etc.
Yeah.
Although I've got one issue with something you've just said.
What?
Joe Hendry. You said his name and he appears, but he hasn't appeared. Where is Joe Hendry?
I don't know. Do you know, I was just thinking when you edited it, when I turned around and said, every time I mentioned Joe Hendry's name, you just inserted say his name and he appears and then cuts it off.
What says I haven't done that?
Who knows?
Who knows? You'll have to wait. The other two matches on this card that we'll talk to on the undercard was Chris Benoit, who went over Orlando Jordan in 25.5 seconds.
This annoyed me because their series they were having was actually really good. I really enjoyed the series of matches they were having around about that time for the US title. This actually annoyed me that it was over so quick. And also maybe it was because I was a big fan of Benoit's wrestling ability, and I still am a fan of his wrestling ability. I really enjoyed watching his matches, and to have it over in 25 seconds against Orlando Jordan, who, to be fair, I know he didn't go on to have a really great, stellar career, I thought was actually very good.
He was solid, and he was solid. And I think if you'd put him with Shelton Benjamin, you could have got either a good tag team or a good series of matches coming out.
Absolutely. So, you know.
Critics actually praised this match, saying it was a good start to the show. It fired up the audience due to Benoit's quick win and that monster pop. The Orton versus Undertaker was generally well received by critics, and it was noted, as we said, for helping Randy's get over enormously. And the Hogan match was cartoony, fun, and a beep show. One of the other matches to talk about very quickly, because we've got two championship matches and we've also got the ladder match for the custody of Dominic Mysterio, which I love 20 years later.
It is great.
Still playing off this.
Do you know, the two things work for me in this. number one, Dominic at that age selling how upset and emotionally distraught that boy is. And this is the match that potentially what became the birth of Dirty Dom years later. This is the trauma of Dominic Mysterio that has gone on. And I still love the fact, and I love Dominic Mysterio. I really do. I love the fact that he looks so much like Eddie with the undercut long hair mullet, and the moustache. I honestly, the fact that all these years later, while he's a heel and against his father, he looks like the man who claimed. And I'm just going to say this: this wasn't actually. This is actually coincident. This wasn't deliberate. I'm actually wearing my Eddie Guerrero "I'm Your Pappy" t-shirt.
Yeah, I did notice that.
And I didn't actually realise that there was no thought of that. I actually just threw this on today.
What?
So this, I mean, I've got my love for Eddie Guerrero is not as like Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania peak. It's just shy of Eddie Guerrero. Like whether he was a face or a heel at this time, he was perfect. Eddie Guerrero was just perfect. Whether he was a face or a heel, he was exceptional at it. And then you throw in all that talent he had in the ring.
It's when you throw in the comedy of Latino heat, with it coming out with the low riders and taking this back to current stuff. We said that this is still being acknowledged 20 years later. SummerSlam this past August, Eddie Guerrero, not Eddie Guerrero, AJ Styles coming out in the lowrider with the Eddie Guerrero style t-shirt.
Yeah.
His son, who they actually said was his son, who looked the spit of a young Dominic Mysterio. Yeah. 20, and Dominic even called it out on the post show.
Yeah.
On YouTube. In fact, we might have the footage for that. We'll play that in just a second if we do. But it's the fact that they incorporated aspects of Eddie Guerrero into his work set with the boot coming loose. That was an Eddie Guerrero tactic.
I mean, I still think to this day, WCW missed a lot of tricks when it came to like Eddie Guerrero, where they didn't put a lot of focus and a lot of push on that style of wrestlers in the company. Hence why they got frustrated and jumped ship.
They did at the beginning. They did at the beginning,
but it phased out. And this is, I mean, I remember mentioning to you a little while back about how it's really disheartening when you watch some of these matches back that are probably match of the night, and you look at the fans and the crowd are sort of like in and out. They're talking amongst themselves. They're not paying attention to the match. And I say this as well is I think this is where they got it. WWE got it so right with Eddie, was that they had him sort of, European Intercontinental Championship picture, but it was when he was paired with China, the whole Mamacita, the birth of the Latino heat thing, where we had the China Playboy scenario storyline, having Eddie be able to be comical and show that personality he has, where he would beg and plead China not to go through with it and all that. He didn't want to lose his Mamacita, and that for me was what really started off Eddie Guerrero really showing the world is more than just one of the best in-ring talents. This guy's got so much charisma. It's ridiculous. And, and this is where the thing, I mean, and again, credit to Dominic. He's sitting ringside, and the amount of times that Eddie taunts Dominic in here, just, saying, I love you, Dominic. You're my son, Dominic. I love you. The way he makes it work is just, it's perfection.
I wonder what, Shawn Guerrero, I can't remember how old she is, but imagine if they got Shawn Guerrero involved in this match as well. A full family thing. Anyway, it was a good match. It was praised for its in-ring action. The angle was criticized though for being, and I quote, terrible and dumb, but it was also acknowledged as being intriguing and even a little scary due to its boundary pushing nature. But in the end, Ray won it. Dominic was Ray's son. Still got, I bet Ray wishes he hadn't won the match and it was Eddie's son based on what happened later on in the WWE. The two title matches were up on the line. Batista was facing off against JBL for the World Heavyweight Championship in a no holds barred match. This was Batista defending against JBL. After Batista got drafted to SmackDown from Monday Night Raw, JBL became number one contender. The Animal allowed JBL to choose the stipulation, and it was a brutal match. 2 Batista bombs led to the finish. Your face is telling me, and you said this earlier on in verbal, in facial images, which I can't show on the screen, is you were not excited about the Animal Batista, because I turned around and went, this led to the development of main eventers such as the Animal Batista. Your face went, yeah. So is that the case, or is this... All right, so what's your take on this match then?
No, you're right, brutal. And if I remember correctly, it wasn't a very long match, was it? I think it was about 10, 11 minutes or so.
Yeah, it wasn't massive, no.
No, I was actually just biting my lip because my lip was itching.
Oh, okay.
No, so yeah.
There we go.
But no, I liked Batista. I really started to grow to really like him when he was in Evolution. I was just thinking at the same time something about the ladder match, actually, where you just mentioned. I was just thinking, as our mind works, and just quickly go back, could you imagine what would happen if Dirty Dom did at some point actually turn around and say, do you know what, actually, maybe Uncle Eddie was right, maybe I am his son. What if Vicky Guerrero actually returned and ended up managing Dom?
Oh God, no!
Briefly,
no.
that would have been great. Shawn Guerrero's 34 years of age, by the way. At the moment.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's 34 years of age. Yeah, I fact checked that.
All right, so she would have been around in the time of
yeah,
that. Anyway.
Yeah. But going back to this, yeah, it was brutal. And to be fair, I think for me in this period of time, I think more respect needs to be put on JBL because. For so many years, he obviously was tag team wrestler with Ron Simmons in the APA, Farouk. It was this whole thing where it was out of the blue where they got split and, and you kind of think, because nowadays when a well-established tag team splits, normally one usually gets a push, the other one kind of phases out. Ron Simmons was one that kind of got phased out a bit, although they still, I know his age was something to do with it, and it was great that even to this day, now and again, he still gets involved with these little damn segments and things like that. But JBL was just, you've got to give him a lot of credit because out of nowhere, he gets this major push as a main eventer, and he made it work. The fact that he turned himself into the wrestling god, as he would say, but people forget the level of brutality some of his matches in this era were. You reference this. You've got the barbed wire steel cage match that he had, I think, at No Way Out in this earlier this year.
Yeah.
You've got I think it was a match where he dethroned Eddie Guerrero as champion. I mean, that was blood galore. He really, really, went all in on it.
JBL should never have been as good as what JBL was.
No.
When he came in as Justin Hawk Bradshaw, I mean, he was awful. When he became part of the NWA stable, awful. When he did the new Blackjacks, awful, right? Yeah. He should never have been as good as what he was. So actually, we talk a lot about characters recreating themselves and going for it. He's the epitome of someone who went for it. And just went, sod it, I'm going for it, and I'm going to have a go. And fair play to him. I like JBL. I think JBL gets a lot of criticism, unwarranted criticism. I think he's what you call a full package. He's got the creative mind. He's got the ability to go out and talk on the mic. He's got the ability to put a good match and to put somebody over and sell when he needs to and go for it. But also, he has got this ability to get on the commentary table and work it.
You're right. I couldn't put it better myself. He was like a complete package. And I think what worked as well is I think that the gimmick he had worked, having, delving into, his other interests with like finances, because some people know that he's all big in the finance world and things like that. To then come out in a limo with the bullhorns. He has that rich man sort of gimmick about him. where he sort of like thinks he's elite. Then he surrounds himself with his cabinet. So you got like the Basham brothers, Orlando Jordan. So, he's got his henchmen there. And the fact that he can talk, he can work the angles very, very well. He's always been very good at pushing boundaries to almost being borderline offensive sometimes because it's all about his character development.
Yeah.
I mean, we go back to the Royal Rumble of this year. One of the things I absolutely love about the Royal Rumble 2005 are two things, and it's mainly the backstage stuff. The Eddie Guerrero interactions, which are just off this chain hilarious, and the interactions with Teddy Long and JBL, where JBL's celebrating his victory, and he's mocking Teddy Long, because as Teddy Long's trying to talk to him, he's just going, I'm wrestling God. I'm God. Yeah. I'm God like this. Yeah. To the point, that's when he gets announced that he's going to be in a barbed wire steel cage match, and the look on his face.
Yeah.
He just made it all work. And then you talk about his commentary. It works, honestly.
With the right person, with the right partner.
Absolutely.
Michael Cole is the right person to partner up with.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think you're right. A lot more credit and needs to go on JBL. And I think his name deserves to be mentioned in these conversations as top champions a little bit more.
I think one of the other things about JBL is you talk about the repackage is the music, like it was one of those. It didn't need the rock, like everybody comes out to, Saliva or Limp Bizkit or anything like that.
Do you remember when they used to do the? You remember when they used to tease Alberto Del Rio before he actually made his debut?
No, unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Do you know what? I always felt that those video packages made it look like he was going to be like the Mexican version of JBL. He would have the towel around the neck. They would have the golden sort of logo and and all that lot, and he'd be in the cars and I just kind of thought, are they ripping off JBL here? Because that's how it that was the impression I started getting quite early before he debuted.
Well, let's move on, talking quickly now about the last two matches, which are Edge versus Matt Hardy, exploiting those tensions between the feud between Edge and Matt because of the affair between Edge and Lita or Amy Dumas. The first time, really, the WWE had gone down this exploiting a real life angle as part of this ruthless aggression. But the problem with this, again, it ended abruptly in under 5 minutes.
Yeah, they really should have been allowed to go longer. And we all remember this for the real life scenario between the three of them, the love triangle. And it was amazing television at the time, because you're thinking, well, we know this is real life that's been brought into into the wrestling. I think a lot of credit needs to go on these three for remaining professional somewhat to allow this angle to play out in storylines, because and I think a lot more credit needs to be put on Matt Hardy, because we're guys, we've had our hearts broken where the love of our lives, who we thought was the love of our life, has gone off with maybe someone that you loved and trusted as a friend and whatnot. Yeah. And you feel that every time you see them, you feel sick to your stomach, you feel your heart's breaking over and over again. And Andy, feel free to cue the old emotional music dubbing over with. I'm not giving you that. Oh, well, I'll try.
Happy birthday.
But to remain professional, because he originally got his release, and then they brought him back like a week or two later.
That was a bit harsh.
That was very harsh. But for him to remain professional, to work a program on the basis of this real life heartbreak that he's going through, this split, that's got to take some doing.
What's funny about this is the fact that they obviously have the match at the pay-per-view. A couple of months earlier than that, at One Night Stand, Heyman references Matt to Edge. Was that hilarious? Spit
Matt
the drink.
Freaking Hardy. That's 3 words.
And then it was at Raw Homecoming when they went back to the USA Network, as you got the blow off between Matt and Edge, where it kind of finished. It was I do remember watching this feud going, ouch, that hurts. That's a bit cutting it to the bone.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Lee about this going, I don't think, because bear in mind, this is you've done the Attitude Era. So we've kind of become climatized to them pushing the envelope a little bit. But this seemed to take it one step further than the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And I do remember saying to Lee, I don't know if this has got a place in the business. Obviously now it's
very
become
controversial.
Now it's become common, right?
Now we're it's second nature. We see these sort of things all the time. Although
we're now looking at it going, why was I getting so het up about it? Because
I wish I'd asked Matt this when I see him. I wish I'd asked him. Maybe if I ever meet him again, I'll ask him this question: was how did he feel a few years later when he was told that he was going to actually be the one that would screw Jeff out of the WWE Championship to hand it to Edge? Because for me, to then have the man who stole your woman a few years later, you're going to be the one that not only takes the title away from your brother, but place it into the man's hands that you really hate.
I'm just going to finish this up by saying, coming soon to Legends will be Stefan Bingo, and we'll be giving out bingo cards because every time Stefan name drops a wrestling personality in an episode of someone that he's met, tick it off. And if you get the full house, there'll be a prize.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I don't know what it is.
In hindsight,
I don't know what it is.
This is the thing. At the time, I don't really think of these questions. No, but when we get into the subject, I'm thinking, I wish I bloody asked them that.
I just find it hilarious. I think this one episode you've name dropped like 3 times maybe, and it's like, I want to do a game. So we're going to play a game, Stefan Bingo. And I'll speak to Mike.
Is this now like my version of?
This is your version
of every time Teddy Long will say 1-on-1 with the Undertaker, or it's a tag team match, player.
Yeah, and we all got sick of that as well. Right, the last match to talk about at the moment is John Cena versus Chris Jericho for the WWE Championship. This is an interesting one. Why? Because this is when we saw the crowd change towards John Cena. This is when we physically or visually and verbally heard serious backlash and Jericho getting cheered. And you've got to say, this was the beginning of the change and the evolution of the Cena character. The Cena sucks chance comes out. He retains the title with the FU. Crowd was not happy. We weren't happy. I think we all wanted Jericho to walk away with it. But again, it just kind of goes to show this was the beginning of the dominance of John Cena.
Yeah, we're going to do our John Cena. We made the decision in the end to do our John Cena show once he actually does retire at the end of the year, because it just thought it'd be a nice way just to clear, wrap it all up, sort of thing. I've made no secret. I was never a big Cena fan. I appreciate everything he's done, and I've got a lot of respect for him. I was a fan more of the Thugonomics, and this was getting to the point now where it's just kind of like, okay, we need to move on a little bit, to put the title on someone else. Let's, calm the Cena stuff a little bit. There are plenty of other wrestlers that, can have that spot for a little while. Although I will say that the following year, when he would go into the program with Edge, I still, that was a rivalry I very much enjoyed. I thought the Cena Edge rivalry was fantastic, and I still think
he did have some good rivalries. But I'm with you. I think the WWE got very reliant on the same group of individuals from this point. Orton, Cena, Edge. Yeah.
2010 comes along and it's still Cena this, Cena that. You're like, really? Are we doing this?
It's the same main events that you've already seen month in, month out. Right, that was SummerSlam 2005. At the end of our SummerSlam coverage, let's just give you a little bit of facts and figures now, because commercially, and this is all important for the WWE at the moment, SummerSlam was a massive success, drew an attendance of 18,176 fans and generated a buy rate of 650,000. Now, you compare that to SummerSlam 2004, which did 410,000 buys. A lot of people are saying that's due to the marquee appeal of Hogan's and Michaels. Other people are saying that's due to the business at this point. I think there's an argument for both.
Yeah.
SummerSlam was deemed to be a success. commercially. It was a failure at the time in terms of critics and fan opinion. However, now looking back on it 20 years later, there is an argument to state that actually it was a pretty good SummerSlam. And when you think back and you watch it on Netflix, you've got to sit there and go, there was maybe a dud match. Angle Eugene, which we haven't even touched on, was a bit of a dud. Jordan Benoit was a bit of a dud. But actually, you look at the rest of that card, there was not a bad match.
No, I think you said, there's an argument for both, whether it could have been, times have moved on or the appeal of Hogan Michaels. I think it's a combination of both. Hogan's Michaels at times going to sell. That it was going to sell. People wanted to see it. Regardless of what they got, people wanted to see it. So it was always going to, and I do think that probably the majority of fans probably did expect Shawn Michaels to go over, and probably in hindsight probably looked at it and go, okay, he didn't go over, and that's probably why people like yourself and me are thinking the same. Yeah, hey. It should have been Shawn that went over in that match.
And I look back on it now going, do you know what? Take it away from what it was. It was a very good.
I wish Hogan had done what Cena's doing, a retirement year where, he could have, faced some of the people he had the dream matches that never happened before. So he would have had like The Rock, Shawn Michaels, etc. Then I think it should have been maybe facing people he had faced, prior over his career, like The Undertaker, for example, and that. And I actually think his retirement match should have been that match at WrestleMania 19 with Vince McMahon. What a way to come full circle.
I agree.
Have beaten Vince, stood tall, said thank you on the grandest stage, because it was him and Vince who started the whole WrestleMania craze. What a way to have ended it. But we talk about Hogan egos and Hogan, I get it. I'm not a blind Hulkamaniac, I get it. So it's a show. I think it could have been done that. And if Hogan had accepted that his time was pretty much up as an in-ring performer, if he had bowed out gracefully.
And we will never know, but it's a good way to end this show. Next week on Legends, we're not going to be talking about Hogan. We're going to be talking about the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. We're going to be looking back at the life, the career, and the legacy of the American Dream. And I think that ultimately is also going to start talking about Cody and Dustin and their lineage within that tribute as well. That's it for us for this week. Thanks for joining us to talk all about SummerSlam 2005. Don't forget, you can listen to all of us on Celebrate Wrestling each week on podcast by going to your podcast provider, searching Celebrate Wrestling and clicking like, subscribe, or follow, and you will get the alternate commentary table with Mitch and Dimitri every Saturday or Sunday, unless it's a double-header weekend. You'll get Mike with Maguire on Wrestling with Uncle Dave Meltzer, potentially Joe Aguinaldo, maybe Stefan, maybe me, maybe Mitch, maybe Dimitri. Who knows? Maybe, potentially, WWE talent. Well, that's would have already happened. That is on Sundays, and of course you've got us on a Wednesday. Check us out on Facebook and social media just by searching for Celebrate Wrestling. But with all that in mind, don't worry if you get a bit of a squeaky bum time, because we will be back next week with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. He's just the calm man.
I'd like to apologise to everyone for that. I don't actually think that Dusty had any problems pronouncing his R's. But apparently he was the American Dream.
I'm going to cut you. I'm just going to cut you off now. Stefan, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. We'll see you next week right here at Legends of Champions. Until then, so long, farewell, or Auf Wiedersehen, bye. We will see you for the matches.